Hello. We're so excited to be here at Design ADAC. I'm Jill Cohen, book packager and agent to the Gianettis, and I'm thrilled to be here with the dynamic duo, Brooke and Steve Gianetti, live from Patina Farm. Hi, Steve. Hi, Brooke.
Hi,
Hello.
how you guys doing? Hi, nice to see you.
Everybody's excited to be here, although we'd rather all be in Atlanta seeing you in person. But this is the next best thing. So many of you know the Gianettis from their frequent visits to Atlanta and from their 3 best-selling books. And last week, the new book, Patina Homes, released. It is absolutely gorgeous, and for the first time showcases more than a dozen incredible properties created by Steve. We have arranged with your local a cappella books to have signed copies available for you, and of course, directly from Gianetti Home as well. So the really exciting part of today is that the Gianettis have prepared an incredible video of Patina Farm, and they're also here live. So first we're going to show the video, and then stay tuned. As soon as it's over, we'll be back with them to do a nice interactive conversation, some touring of the house, Q&A. Please send in to the chat via Q&A. Via chat, any questions you have, and we'll answer them and have a great conversation later. So here we go with the Patina Farm video.
Hello, and thank you to everyone at ADAC for letting Steve and I participate in this event. Welcome to our home, Patina Farm, located in Ojai, California. The design of our home is a combination of the history of Ojai, our own personal history, and our dreams for the way we wanted to live our life. So come on in and we'll show you around. Welcome to the main space in our home here at Patina Farm. Our home is a bunch of juxtapositions, so modern and ancient, rustic and refined. So we have like these really kind of modern spaces that are all flow together, but we use a lot of kind of ancient building materials to add warmth and history.
We created this groin vaulted hallway to make the house feel like it was built out of masonry. And the focal point is an antique door from, what was it, the 17th century?
Oh, it's really old and it's really short.
It's only 5.5 feet tall, so it was a bit of a false perspective to make a little quirky, the room look bigger than it actually was. So let's walk you through the living room space now. When you walk into the house, we wanted to frame the view in the distance of the mountains and let light in from both sides. So the room is quite narrow, maybe 18 or 19 feet. But like old houses from the 20s, there's light on 2 sides as well as some skylights in the middle. We have a fireplace that is open around both sides with the kitchen on one side and the living room on the other side. And then we used pretty much all antique furniture in the space. And it's always changing because we're selling it all the time on the store.
Well, not only is the furniture changing, but even the space has changed. Like what is now our living room used to be our dining room.
Right. So when a house has sort of a heart to it, you can move things around and it still holds together. You can see here we've got an antique fireplace mantle with kind of a cool composition up on the top. Who's that on top?
That's Hank.
Hank,
okay. Our pig.
Hank, our pig. We've got an antique gymkhana mat for the coffee table.
Yes.
The furniture in the place is our own design, the upholstered furniture, and we've just trying to kind of pull that all together because it scales with the antiques.
Why we love living with antiques, not only do they add their history, but they're also very easy to live with. They already are imperfect, so we don't really worry about things. We have a lot of family and animals, and so they're really easy to live with. We don't worry about it. And that's why we actually many years ago called our style Patina style, because we kind of embrace the age and imperfections that come with use and living with these pieces.
Yeah, and the palette of the interior is inspired by nature. If you see the dining room space, you'll see a large Verdú tapestry on the wall that basically looks like a scene looking out the window. So we tend to design our interiors with the palette inspired by what's outside the window for the given area.
Yes, because our house is very indoor-outdoor, and Steve designed the house with a lot of windows. So they almost frame the views. Well, they do frame the views. They do frame the views,
yeah. It's very, yeah.
He's very good at framing views. Even to the outside of the living room, we actually sited the house so that the big 250-year-old oak tree actually kind of arches over the view out the back door.
Yeah. We put all these things together, and then we use certain patterns that I've developed from reading the pattern language, like window seats and thick walls and beamed ceilings, all these patterns that show up in my work over and over again. Basically, I kind of got the idea when I was in college and read this fantastic book. So
the book is called
Pattern Language by Christopher Alexander. It's
really informed most of your work. Even more modern homes that you do follow those patterns.
Yeah, and the principles, south-facing outdoors, thin house. There's so many of them, I kind of lose track.
But one of the main ones, and the one that is here in all the different design elements in our home, is kind of the golden section that you use.
Yeah, all the windows in the house are based on the golden section, that roughly 3 to 5 proportion that you see in nature. So what happens is the proportion of the windows basically resonate with the proportion of nature outside, because nature is based on that same proportion. And it just shows up over and over and over again in all the elements of the house.
It's really the proportion of beauty, right?
Yeah, that's the way I've seen it. So that's what we're trying to do, is to connect it with nature, make it beautiful, make it feel timeless, make it feel like it's always been here, and make it a story.
Yes, and also to evoke certain emotions. Like we are inspired by nature because living that way, living with that palette and the connection to nature, makes us feel calmer and allows us to kind of live more in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also want to connect to our history. So there are a number of places in the house where I bring in pieces of my own personal history. My father's studio, there's plaster elements that are collected on the walls, plaster elements on the floor. There's plaster and my own artwork in places that shows up. Just things, like everybody, you want things you love, quirky little things that show up in different places.
And you explain a lot about your history in our new book, Patina Homes, as well as a lot of the newer projects that we've worked on either together or you've worked on with other designers that have some of these themes that go through them as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Even the very modern houses share much the same palette of the beams. I'm using a lot of oak now, the oak floors, the plaster walls, the stone.
Yeah.
All these things I think they connect with some people viscerally and emotionally. So having a little bit of the style to kind of connect to a history, these materials that feel like they've been touched by an artisan, and the shapes and proportions that connect with nature tend to make something that resonates with a lot of people. So that's the goal of what we do.
Welcome to our kitchen. As I mentioned, we have a very open floor plan, and the kitchen is just on the other side of the mantle from the living room.
Yeah, we used a couple of principles here. We wanted the cooking area to look like an old fireplace hearth. So we've got a large-scale Lacanche range, probably that's 7 feet long, tucked in something that looks like an old fireplace. And then we designed the island and all the other pieces in the room to look like individual pieces of furniture. That's the refrigerator over there, and then there's another cabinet that kind of echoes it. That's an antique that holds the dishes. Mm-hmm. And then we have a very small sitting area that's mostly just me and Brooke, and stools under the table when other people come over. But we wanted to create a very intimate space where we could hang out in the mornings and talk and look around.
Yeah, and the nice thing, what I love about this kitchen is its connection to the outdoors. We don't have any upper cabinetry in our kitchen, so it doesn't block the view of our land. So I can look out my window above the sink and see the cows grazing and the donkeys mingling with some of the other animals. It's really wonderful. It doesn't feel like a kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, it was important because it was so connected to the house, and you actually walk through it to get to other parts of the house, that it not be too kitcheny, that it really feel like a room that had been kind of taken over as a kitchen. And then the big window, of course, is another one of the patterns. It's open countertop, you know, all glass above it. And you get this really nice quality of light. It's very important that the windows go all the way to the counter, and you get massive wide view, and then appliances and other things are tucked into the sides.
Right.
We did all that on purpose to make it about the view and not make it about feeling like a kitchen.
Right, so we created spaces for the things that I don't find particularly pretty, like the toaster oven, but things like some of our pots and pans that are really prettier, we have hanging just out. And, you know, like some of the white bakeware and things like that we store in the islands on the shelves because they're really pretty, and, you know, you can just...
Yeah, so what happens is the things you use every day become the decoration of the kitchen. It's inspired by old-fashioned 16th and 17th century kitchens where you didn't have a bunch of decorative stuff, you only had the stuff you were going to use. So we tried to go back to the ideas of those things and recall the ideas so that everything added up to this feeling of an old house where it was all very well thought about and not a lot of extra stuff.
Welcome to our bedroom.
Here we are.
I love our bedroom because it's so simple, you know, and it's that balance again of ancient and modern.
Yeah, we have an ancient antique fireplace mantle with the antique fire brick inside, and then it's a vaulted plaster ceiling, a couple of antique light fixtures, and then this very modern element of sheets of glass in the corners of the windows. You can see over in the side there's a sheet of glass, and they all frame views of the garden in different ways.
And not only does the glass frame the view, but we actually made it so that, you know, either there's the beautiful roses that kind of frame the view, especially this time of year, and the Boston ivy that frames the view going through these sheets of glass, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, this was one spot where I was really trying to bring the modern and the ancient together and let the sheets of glass go right up to the wall and make it look like those pieces of glass weren't there. We also have a steel window at the end of the room that frames the view of the back garden, and we have a little porch with a small iron trellis off of it. So it's that indoor-outdoor space that you often need where you're protected and covered, and it's quite pretty.
Yes, and lets you feel that connection to all that.
To the outside.
Yeah.
Without getting glary.
Yes. And welcome to our closet and bathroom. This actually, the part we're standing in right now is our new closet addition that is very recent. And we redid the garden that we look out from here as well as from our bathroom.
Yeah, the idea we spent a lot of time in the closet, and we wanted to make it
We do.
non-closety. So the idea was to create one of the nicest rooms in the house.
Yeah.
So what we have is all the clothes are behind these draped panels, so that you don't have to worry about the sun fading the clothes.
And I also like that it kind of creates a very calm space, you know, rather than seeing all of our clothes kind of hanging in the different colors. I kind of like it just to have this really natural, calm space.
Yeah, and you have a couple of little desks in here that you'll work. You're in here with the puppies.
Yes.
And be able to keep an eye on everybody.
Yes.
We'll show you the bathroom.
Yeah.
That was my idea of, again, creating a very modern element. So the shower, we wanted it to feel like we were showering in a garden. So what we did is the shower is basically 3 sheets of glass epoxied together with the stone floor, and it looks like you're actually outside because there's a glass roof and glass walls, and it's really the nicest place we've ever found to take a shower.
Yes. It looks out to the garden, which is just lovely, and then we have the little water feature out there,
And
it's
then we
quite
have that
lovely.
no-mow long grass, and it turns pretty cool.
And now we will show you a little bit of our gardens and some of our outdoor spaces, and you can meet some of our animal friends. Any tour of Patina Farm wouldn't be complete without seeing our gardens. It is what inspired a lot of the inside of our house, and we connected to the gardens because they are so important to us, and they just make us feel happy and calm and at peace.
We have a way of thinking about the gardens. They're relatively limited plants.
Yes.
trying to get it down to 10 plants because we're not good at plants, but trying to make something where it's all about shapes and pattern and color and very calm and
the balance of structure and a little bit of chaos.
yeah, that's the whole idea. And then this particular garden we created with an idea that there's a you'll see a little like a country lane that is
actually our driveway.
basically our driveway with gravel over asphalt. And then there's this little kind of clearing that you come to that's right at the front of the house. That's where we are now. And then you kind of wind through the ollie balls up to the front door, and you'll be able to see a little peek of the tower and the doorbell hanging from the shutter that rings a bell inside the tower.
Yes. So let's go see some of our other gardens. Welcome to our back gardens. This is right behind our house, and we created a series of rooms using these big boxwood almost as the walls for the different spaces.
Yeah, we call this the cloud garden. And we created a little eating area under the tree. There's a little area here where the fountain is that looks like an old well. And then there's an area back there that has a fire pit. And then you can see the big sheet of glass that's in our bedroom that we were showing you guys earlier.
So you can almost see, well, you can see right through
Yeah,
our
you
bedroom.
see right through the house to the other side. And the guest house off beyond, and there's a little porch.
And then standing here, we can overlook our vegetable gardens as well as our rose garden beds and what was
And
so,
our cows.
And our cows. What was so nice about this property is we're on 2 different levels, so we actually were able to create our own view. So all the gardens we have down below, we can see from our home and from up top here, and it's really quite lovely.
Yeah, and we planted everything except for the 300-year-old oak trees.
Yes. Yes, we weren't around back then.
Yes.
So why don't we meet some of our animals? Welcome to our barn here at Patina Farm. It's actually my favorite room in the house because it's filled with our favorite animals. This is Sammy. You want to say hi, Sammy?
This is Ida up here.
Ida. And
Who's
we
that?
have
There's
another
Thelma
we
under
got
there.
Thelma under there.
Hey, Thelma.
And we have one of our newly sheared baby doll sheep. That's Paisley over there. Anyway, this is where they hang out in the afternoon when it starts getting warm. And living with them has been quite a treat and has taught us a lot about ourselves and about life. And I think that's about it. What else?
It's always
Anything
fun.
else?
It's cool to make up a dream and be able to create it and live it.
Yes, and if you want to learn more about us, you can get our books, Patina Style, Patina Farm, and Patina Living, and our latest book about our history and Steve's history and some of our favorite design projects. The book is called Patina Homes. It's now available. And if you'd like to see more of our daily life and get to know our animals more, you can follow us on Instagram. My Instagram is Velvet and Linen, and I share a lot of animal antics on that. And Steve has his Instagram, which is more design based, but also, you know, has his farm anecdotes, and his is just Steve Gianetti. And if you'd like to learn more about all of even the clothing I'm wearing at Gianetti Home is our website and our website Instagram. And thank you again to ADAC and to all of you for coming to visit us here at Patina Farm.
Bye.
Goodbye.
That was amazing. The next best thing to being there. I actually felt like I was there. What a fantastic tour. We have some questions coming in, but first I'd love to ask you, I'm so glad you're live in that iconic room of yours. Will you tell us a little bit about, I mean, you did on the video, but some of the things in the back, I know that there's a great story about the tapestry, which used to be a de Gournay panel. And I just love the way you switch things up. Will you talk a little bit about the room you're in?
So the room we're in used to be the dining room. When we originally designed the house, this had a dining table in it, and kind of thinking we would dine next to the fire.
And then behind the big panel in the back is a television. And then we realized we never watch television. So we're always hanging out with the animals or doing something else. So the only time we ever use the TV is when we're doing a meeting and want to put a model up or something like that. So one day I just flipped the room. Brooke said,
I had to be out of the house for that because he had this crazy idea of flipping the two rooms, and it was, you know, I appreciate his creative side, but it was a little too much for me to take the whole chaos of the in between. So I left, and he moved stuff around. But I was pleasantly surprised. It was awesome.
Yeah, so it ends up being great. So now we're in the living room, even though we're still in the dining room.
Yes,
Well, the questions coming in, it kind of ties to one of these questions now, which is, you know, you've been able to flip the space because you have a wide open space. What about somebody who's kind of bored with the way their house is now after COVID for a year that wants to flip, that has a more traditional layout?
I think that you just have to think about how much you use spaces. A lot of people don't use spaces, you know, they maybe use a formal dining room hardly ever. But if it was a library, maybe you'd use it a lot. So being able to transform something and just give yourself permission. I mean, there's no design police that are going to pull you over. They're all taking care of somebody else's design problems. So you might as well just try something.
Yeah, we really believe that we use every single space here at Patina Farm, and you should use all the spaces in your house and create things that evoke emotion for you and make you happy, and the spaces should support the dream you have for your life.
So we have a lot of great questions coming in. Some are very simple and some are a little more complex. So I'm going to start with a really simple one. Somebody asked, do you have any problems with birds hitting all the glass in your home?
Yes.
Yes. We have had some that hit the glass. Most of them, fortunately, don't hit too hard, and we are usually able to resuscitate them. But it is kind of a challenge with glass houses like this.
Okay. So now the next question is this. What is the name of the book that Steve referenced from college?
So that's called A Pattern Language, and it's by a guy named Christopher Alexander. And they talk about universal design principles that people are emotionally drawn to.
Just makes principles that make people feel good.
Yeah, everything from cities to houses to design.
And now here's a very interesting question here. Will the architectural design of your home be suitable to different areas, such as Middle Tennessee with the weather and tornadoes, i.e. the sheet glass windows type of interior walls and ceilings? The reason this is such an interesting question is that I know how much work you're doing in Tennessee. And it would be very interesting to hear, you know, how what you're doing there is different.
Well, I mean, what we usually try to do is the big sheets of glass or the steel windows, those things will do. I did a house with these same kind of steel windows recently on 300 acres outside of Nashville. And we kept these things, and I mean, they had a couple of storms come through and they were in pretty good shape during the storms. But what I try to do, rather than taking Patina Farm and dropping it into rural Tennessee, would be to look at the old barns or the old buildings that are part of the history of Tennessee, and then build a design that's based on that. That to me feels like it wants to feel like it's part of the place. This Ojai Valley just happens to have a lot of old Spanish buildings and stone buildings and barns. So we riffed on that to create this place. But when I'm doing a project somewhere else, I'll often riff on the local style to create it.
Well, I know that the new book, there's a couple questions about that. Somebody asking when it will be available in the UK, and I think Amazon should have that up soon.
I think it may already be available.
It might already be, yes. But actually tied to that question, One of the questions that came in asked about, are you going to be showing more behind the scenes of designing? And I know your video series is so popular. I mean, if anybody follows Velvet and Linen, they see sometimes there's 40,000 viewers of the videos. And a few times you've done some great behind the scenes things, like in the kitchen, and Steve talking about like how you designed the whole hood and all of the kind of behind the scenes. So there are people asking, will you be showing more of that?
Yeah, we probably will.
Absolutely. And we have a few projects actually that we're working on for clients that we definitely plan to start doing some videos showing kind of the evolution of the design as well.
Yeah, and how the process works and how a model, on my Instagram, there's a couple of shots where you have the model view, which we build very detailed models that are actually furnished with what looks like real furniture. And you can see the model view and then the real thing. And so it's kind of cool to be able to see how technology these days is helping kind of level the playing field between people who can read plans like us and people
Not
who...
so much me. I actually really appreciate the model. It's very helpful for me as well.
Yeah, so it's handy because you can just do so much these days.
So getting down to some real minutiae details, somebody's asking, do you have floor outlets in the living room for lighting?
Yes, we have them. We do a trick where we bury them like 6 inches under the wood floor, so that you have a little wooden the wood floor has just a little hole in it that the wire goes through. But a lot of floor outlets, they have this stupid thing where the wire sticks up and makes a bump under the...
Yes.
I know that kind of stuff makes me crazy. But
Yes.
Anyway, we sort of design our way out of that problem.
Right. No more lumpy
More lumpy carpets.
Right.
So lots of questions coming in. They're all great. So this one might be for you, Brooke. How long does it take you to find the perfect vintage item for a project?
Oh, I usually have something in mind, and it usually doesn't take very long. I don't know if it's an energetic thing, but I can usually throw it out there, and it usually doesn't take very long. That's the beauty also right now of the internet. And I also have people who look for antiques for me in Europe as well. We also import antiques, and so a lot of the times we have already have those pieces, and when I'm designing, I know that piece will be perfect in somebody's home. So like we said in the video, I try not to get too attached to pieces in our house, because they usually are transitory and end up in a client's house or something like that.
And then Steve, here's another one for you. What are the products used to create your shower walls?
So that's just 3 sheets of tempered glass just glued together. I think I could only build it in Ojai when no one was paying attention, because somebody asked for the calculations on how it's not going to get destroyed in a giant earthquake. I can't really give it to them, but
don't worry, they're tempered, so nobody will be hurt. We'll just have to replace them.
It'll just be a big dusty pile of glass when we're all finished. But these are the kinds of chances I can take on my own house, because it's cool enough to do. So we did that, and then there's just a couple of waterworks faucets that we just mounted through holes in the glass. So they're just mounted right to the sheet of glass.
But that's the fun thing about us designing our own house, is we can try all these things on ourselves first. We're kind of the guinea pigs for all of these crazy design ideas.
Yeah,
It's the lab. It's the
it's the
genetic.
lab. Yeah, it's
And I know personally how much experimentation went into where the birds would be, or the chickens, that the animals wouldn't disrupt each other. That's a whole nother thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, our property is always evolving as we add new animal family members. So what used to be our chicken coop is now our barn, and just kind of figuring out how all the animals will get along with each other, which primarily they all get along. So we're kind of lucky that way.
It's amazing. Okay, got a lot of questions coming in. So here's one. How long does it take you to do the interior design of a space on average?
Oh, the
preliminary, it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take very long. You know, usually an interior design usually is inspired by our client's story, the location of the place, and you know, what our clients imagine doing in these spaces and what kind of emotions they're trying to evoke. And once we kind of have those ideas, Steve and I will kind of, we take a lot of walks with our dogs, and we'll talk about the kind of design, interior design, and we kind of break it up. I'm kind of the micro woman, and he's the macro guy. So he'll do like a floor plan, and we'll talk about colors, schemes, and what kind of pieces we want, and then he'll draw it up, and then I kind of show him some fabrics and all of that.
Yeah,
So
it doesn't take very long, because I don't usually draw it until I can see it 100% in my head.
Yeah.
And then basically I'll just draw a sketch of it. And then Brooke will go, oh, let's put this on that piece of furniture, and let's use this chair, and let's use that thing there. And then I'll tweak the sketch a little bit. And
yeah, so
that's how it works. Because they get designed more instantly. And then it's just a matter of just finding a couple of pieces.
yeah. So
All the designs are usually just there. You just have to kind of find them.
yes, grab them from the ether.
Grab them from the air.
Yeah.
So here's a question. It's a question that I've heard a lot of people ask designers. I think you may have a different answer to this. The question has come in: has time at home during COVID changed the way you think of designing a house, or something you would add to home now that you normally wouldn't have before? Now, the reason I want to say that you may answer it differently is that you
Right.
guys created a little fantasy world for yourself
Right.
and figured out how to work from there, unlike most people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, we
Kind of were
imagined-
already ahead of the curve with that, right?
we kind of wanted to work from home a long time ago. So we moved here almost 8 years ago, and before we moved here, a lot of our work is in Los Angeles and all of that. So when we made a decision to move here, we had to already figure out how we were going to work remotely, how we could work here when all of our work was in other places, and as well as our design team. So we had already kind of figured out how to do that.
Yeah, there's an internet collaboration tool I use because I think I sort of posited that remote work was best because you just need time to think and concentrate and fewer distractions.
Yeah.
So all this stuff in the office where everybody's always interrupting you is just infuriating. So I just decided to move to Ojai and not have an office and just sit in my office and draw stuff myself. And then I connect to people through the internet. I mean, what's happened is we realized that Zoom is a much better way to talk to clients because everybody's focused on a big 27-inch screen and you're not distracted.
And you don't have to look over somebody's shoulder at something.
And then we basically build all the rooms in Model or on the iPad or in Pages doc where all the furniture is there. So everybody can see the whole house all the time.
Yeah.
And
everything's on the cloud.
Yeah, it just works better. You can basically live anywhere you want.
Right.
And do and have a better quality of life and actually do better work.
Yes.
Because you're protecting your creativity by not having it picked at all day long in a place where you can't be creative.
Yes, and I guess the one thing that everybody's more worried about is what's behind them. You know, what the backdrop is.
Oh yeah, your backdrop ends up being very important.
Your backdrop
ends
ends
up
up being very important.
Yeah. Exactly.
So kind of connected to the current question, somebody has asked, what are some useful tech items that you use when you're doing interior design?
The single most useful thing is an iPad to have from a tech standpoint, because you can take a photo of a room, draw over top of it, put stuff in this. I mean, you can just draw stuff in an empty room, and I often will do that.
What's your favorite app for that?
I just use the Photos app in the regular iPad, in the Apple's photo app.
Yeah.
I just will screenshot And then you can bring in colors, you can match colors, you can bring in furniture. There's Procreate. I think a lot of the guys in the office use Procreate to bring in different kinds of furniture into the app. But there is not a better tool for design than the iPad.
Yeah, and it has that special little pencil that I call his purple crayon.
Yeah,
right.
And then we build in, or technically we build models in ArchiCAD. It's kind of like a SketchUp on steroids. And so we've built, I've built a giant library. I call it like the hardware store, with every piece of furniture I've ever used in any project. And we can basically grab pieces and just bring in rooms and create whole worlds, render them so they look real. It's cool.
Yeah, we also just use the Pages app, you know?
Yeah, we use the Pages app because it's collaborative amongst anybody who wants to join the group. So you don't have to send out new versions of something, because the version's always the most up to date.
Right.
So super simple way to do it. And then
each page is kind of a room.
yeah,
and,
it's a great
you
way
know,
to
you
do
can-
it. That and a piece of paper and a pencil, and you got pretty much everything you need.
Steve loves his paper and pencil.
Yeah. So Brooke, here's one for you. Can you tell us more about the tapestry behind you?
Yes.
You want to walk over there?
Sure. Should we walk over there? Let's
Layla,
go.
why don't you just grab that?
Layla's going to move us over
And
there.
Brooke, while you're talking about this, another question came in that's somewhat related, which is somebody saying they're clueless when it comes to purchasing antiques. What are the important characteristics you look for when seeking antiques in your home? So maybe you could talk about the tapestry and also answer that
Sure.
one at the same time.
So this is a recent addition. I also don't get too attached to the tapestries that are in our house, because those tend to go to other people as well. So this is a new one that we had. And I just love the colors, all the different greens and neutral tones. It's just really inspiring and just a beautiful kind of focal point in this room. So you can see it's got all these birds. I'm a kind of softie for all the birds and everything. And then for us, for antiques, we're not really big on anything having a certain provenance. That's never been really important to me. I really am attracted to, I love palette. I actually love Swedish pieces a lot. They are inspired by kind of more ornate French pieces, but they were made by kind of local artisans who probably couldn't afford the French pieces. So there's kind of more of a connection to,
Walk over here.
yeah,
See
to
it.
the,
Can you get around?
here, Leila's gonna walk around. There's probably more of a connection to the artisans who make them, and they're a little less fancy. I love the palette that they're usually kind of in these chalky colors. And I really like that they're not quite as fancy, because we're not really fancy people. We kind of a little bit, we live on a farm, Patina Farm.
And then you mix very rustic pieces like the old chair, with pieces that are more decorative, and then just create these collections inside.
Right.
These old mushrooms and old books and
Yes.
cool old stuff.
Actually, there's a question that I think ties to what you're talking about right now, where somebody wrote in, could you find a word that defines patina style? And I think really what you're talking about right now, which is really so much of the palette and the craftsmanship and something that feels really worn. Do you want to?
Yes, I think we always thought of patina style as kind of the appreciation for the age and use that comes, that pieces get with age and use.
Yeah, the idea that pieces have a story.
Yes.
Like this piece has all this wear on it of people opening the door and closing it. And there's a memory built into a piece that a modern piece just does like
It wants to open.
It's a little bit ghostly here. It wants to open. But anyway, it has the patina style is really about this things getting better as they get older and use more, and how the stories attached to antique elements, and you can sort of feel it. And they don't have to be perfect, and you can, you know, ding it up and add your own story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we always had our children and animals living in our houses, so we really didn't want to worry about things being perfect. So for us, patina style was that idea that you embrace the imperfections, like this fly.
So lots of other questions coming in. So I'm going to ask, this is a good one. They say, your life is amazing and I love following along on both of your Instas, but sometimes life is not so smooth going. Do you have anything you've done where you say, oh gosh, I should not have done that? Sometimes I learn best when I know what I don't want.
Oh, what have we done that we don't like?
Not that much around here. We kind of like what we've created. Sometimes you take the wrong
What
project.
about for a client where you done something for a client that has said, gee, that wasn't what I wanted?
No.
I mean, like a small scale thing, like a sofa or something, but we usually will draw enough and bring them into our world enough that
Yes.
people will kind of understand what they're getting. It's very important, we think, for people to get it, to understand it. That's why these detailed models are such an important aspect of what we do. Just to be able to bring people into a world and not be completely surprised by something.
Yeah, I always say to them, we don't want you to be surprised. I mean, there is that great reveal when they walk into the actual house, but you don't want them to be surprised. And the models definitely help because they can visualize it in a 3D way before the actual place is built. So that is a big help.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple more specific questions. Do you use tungsten or LED lighting? And if LED, do you use LED recessed or any brands that you like?
We don't have any recessed lighting in our house. And so all of our lights right now are incandescent.
Yeah, they're all old school.
We're kind of old school light people. LEDs are definitely getting better. But we also, I'm not a big fan of recessed lighting for the reason that recessed lighting just lights down and it doesn't illuminate the walls or the ceilings. You end up with these kind of dark pockmarks in the ceiling. The only time we really use a recessed light is if we want to light up a wall, if we want to face that. They have different, lenses you can do to face the walls and maybe light up a piece of artwork or something like that, then we'll use a recessed light. But otherwise, we much prefer like chandeliers, sconces,
picture lights.
Yes.
If I'm doing recessed lights, when I do them, there's a company called Element that makes a square recessed light that is has no trim, and it's the best looking one. I'm gonna let that get out of the way. Oh, thanks. But that's the best. That's the best one if you need to find one.
When you talk about
lighting.
the models, somebody wants to know if it's AutoCAD models or physical miniature models.
It's AutoCAD. It's like an AutoCAD model. Wait, I don't get the iPad off my desk. So what they are, it's
been nice, right?
So ArchiCAD, it's like AutoCAD. The AutoCAD 3D models just don't look good. They don't they're probably good for making drawings, but they're not good for building a nice looking physical model that has some life to it. So what we've built, we use a company called ArchiCAD, I think it's European, and we can actually generate really good models with all the furniture and everything inside. And then they have a game engine that's from video games. So you can actually create nighttime scenes and you can run through these scenes in all sorts of different ways.
Show them, Steve.
Yeah.
Find one here to show. Why don't you, here, I'll open this guy up, it'll take a second.
Okay.
In the meantime, Brooke,
Yes.
you can answer a couple of animal questions if people are asking, what do you do when the snakes try to go in for the chickens?
We have not had that issue.
Great.
I'm not sure why we don't have snake issues, but we don't. Also, I think we do have some barn cats. I'm not sure if the barn cats keep the snakes away or what it is, but we have not had a snake issue. We have had rodent issues, which is why we now have the cats.
So there's 4 questions that have come in that all ask about a certain aspect of running your business. So I'm
Okay.
going to put them together so you could answer these. But Steve, do you want to show your?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where that is, Layla. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna close this.
perfect. Amazing. Yeah.
So anyway, this just looks like, but what happens is it's live.
Mm,
So I can walk right in, see the furniture outside, and then walk into the room and look around and see the whole room
amazing.
and see all the pieces of furniture and everything. When what you usually are stuck with is just looking at a floor plan. Let me drop down here and lift up here. Zoom in. So here you can see the floor plan of the house, like that. And you can look right into it, see it in plan, see it this way, see the pieces of furniture,
Amazing.
walk into the room. So
you can see how there wouldn't be very many surprises for our clients. They
Fantastic.
and as we buy pieces, we can actually
Yeah,
have them modeled and put into the
yeah, we
into the
model
actual
them and
space.
actually put them into the actual space. So you can see that. We'll build like light fixtures to check the scale of things. It ends up being kind of a handy
Yes.
tool.
That would be a very large.
Yeah, it's
light
a very
fixture.
large light fixture. Anyway, and
So-
we also do landscape and pools and everything in the same model format.
And then we float all our houses in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, that's the model business.
Here are a group of business questions that have come in from different people. And I'll ask you, you could answer them all together. So one is, how many people do you have on your team? And what is an ideal client for you when you look at evaluating a project? And also, how often in a design project are you on site? So I've grouped those
Okay, so
together.
we have a very small group of wonderful designers who we work with. A couple of interior designers and Steve has a couple of.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah,
I have 3. Yeah, I have 3 people. Brooke has 3.
Yes.
And they work kind of in tandem with each other. So doing the architecture and kind of melding it with the interior design, and then all of it getting brought together throughout these 3D models.
And our dream client is somebody who comes and says, who has a clear vision of what they are dreaming, what they envision, understands what we do, and wants us to help them fulfill their dream by designing their entire property. Like right now, we're really focusing on creating beautiful
homes, interiors, gardens,
the
everything.
whole thing.
So you want somebody who loves what we do or loves Patina Farm, because that's really why we built it, to attract the kind of people who would like this.
If we build it, they will come.
Yeah, and then if somebody kind of buys into it, then you can build a trust that allows you to really make something great. Because if we don't connect to the kind of work we're doing, it's much more difficult to make something great.
There has to definitely be a level of trust. That's really important. And
I know that the new book and all the houses that are showcased there are the stories of all the other people's dreams that you've interpreted, whether it's beach house or modern. Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are very modern. Where I had a client call me and he just wanted to do a really warm modern house. He said, Steve, how would you do that? And I said, well, I'd probably do like the plaster walls and wood, old wood and old stone, and make it very indoor, outdoor. It's just all the principles that we use, but I just kind of leaned it towards modern.
Yeah, the style of the house really doesn't matter.
Yeah, the style is, it's more materials and shapes and proportion dependent than stylistically dependent.
Actually, Traditional Home has an outdoor living special issue that features 2 of your modern beach houses. You can see.
Yeah, that's the
different
indoor
areas.
outdoor taken to the limit. Those one of those houses where the whole back wall of the house, it's like all these steel windows just opening up and becoming part of the garden.
So here are some questions about Patina Farm and your house. So one question is, how many people help you maintain the house and garden at Patina Farm? I know I can tell you because I've stayed there plenty of times. You guys are out there feeding the donkeys at 5. There's nobody else doing that.
Yeah, no, nobody,
Right.
nobody lives here that's waking up and doing that with us. We do it every morning, and we want to. I mean, that's part of the reason we have the animals, is to kind of live with them and be in the moment with them. But we do have help. We have a wonderful gardener and his team that come on Tuesdays that help us to maintain the gardens. We have a lovely couple, Carrie and Dan, who help us Monday through Friday, you know, for a good chunk of the day, just helping us kind of maintain everything and making sure everybody's taken care of.
They're also doing the store.
But
running
they
the
also,
store.
yes, they also do other things as well. I mean, I think we all, including Carrie and Dan, love the balance of the animal care and focusing on other things as well, you know, design and things like that.
So this is, oh, somebody just came in to say you didn't answer the site visit question. How often do you visit? Mhm.
So on site visits, if there is if it's a local house, we'll usually do it once a week. If it's something like in LA, because we'll go down and hit 4 houses in a day in LA. If what I found is we're doing something remote, you can do it once every 6 weeks, and I'll do a Zoom meeting with the contractor once a week, and we'll walk around with the FaceTime or Zoom or something like that and look at stuff. Just because if you draw enough and you model enough, you don't really have to be on site as much as you think you need to be. In fact, we're doing more stuff out of town just because it's more efficient to not be running in and answering questions, because most of the questions people can just ask you. You don't really need to be there.
So here are 2 questions that might answer each other. One person, Erica, said that she and her mother had the incredible opportunity to attend your fundraiser for the little farm at your home. Do you plan
Awesome.
to have additional events like that coming up?
Well, not any big events. Our neighbors were not very happy with us when we did that. We ended up with a couple of the events that we had. We ended up with over 1,000 people, and it was a little overwhelming. But we are having some small tours that Layla, actually, our daughter, is going to be in charge of, and they will help pay for animal care and also allow us to donate to the Little Farm of Ojai, which is a wonderful rescue. Actually, is now going to be the Little Farm Rescue because they're moving. But
yeah, so these will be more like 8 or 10 people, like individual tours.
Yeah.
And then we'll be putting that up if you email us through the website, go to Gianetti Home.
Yes, if you're interested in visiting.
Just go to the contact and just email, and we'll put you on a list. And
Second question may be the answer to that first question, which is, what brought you to the decision to share your personal life with the public as you do?
I felt like we had learned a lot from moving here of how to find peace and a way to live in the moment, and how important it is to have a connection with nature. And it felt like something that we needed to share. And especially in the past year with everything being shut down and a lot of people not being able to go out and experience this, it was really a wonderful thing to be able to share and connect with people, and to be able to provide something that I am so grateful, or we both are so grateful to be able to have every day in our life. So
yeah, we've heard stories from people all over the world who just spend the mornings with the goats or the donkeys or us,
right.
Just seeing Brooke's little video and her little story that she writes pretty much every morning about life here on the farm.
A question coming in now. How many projects do you take on in a year?
we're doing last, but we probably have about 10 going at once,
10
something like that.
10 to 15.
10 to 15 going at once. Oh,
But they're all in different phases. So like some are just starting and
some are, some are almost finishing, some are just starting. So they're not all in the same spot.
Yes.
Okay, so this is really cute, and I think you can explain that there's other children, but somebody asked question for your daughter. Would you ever be interested in picking up your parents' business and keeping their style alive? Maybe you want to share whatever he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, our son, does design with us. So we're kind of hoping that he'll continue. He definitely seems to be enjoying it. Charlie, our oldest son, as Jill knows, is very creative and right now is focusing on designing clothing, including my clothing. He's designing clothing for us and for a lot of other people. So he's kind of doing that. And Layla helps us a lot here and is hoping to kind of, I'm speaking for Layla, which is right here, but is hoping to kind of help use what we do here and maybe teach, bring people here to visit and teach people about gardening and vegetable gardening and cooking and animal care and all of that. She has an interest in connecting with people in that way.
Right.
Yeah, that's more my side of things. I like the farm. I'm really interested. I think growing up with it, there's obviously like a fascination that I have with their style, interior design and all that stuff. But I'm sorry. I'm just
camera ready.
not feeling too well today. But yeah, I enjoy the farm aspect of life here and it's helped me stay more focused. So I hope to always continue to share the farm with the world and let people know how wonderful it is to live a life that's more connected with nature, slow paced, and just
because it's been very healing for you as well.
Yeah, it has been, but it's been good. It's nice to see all of you.
So Brooke and Steve, a few more questions for you.
Yes, let me come back.
One is somebody asking if you ever don't agree on design differences, how do you work through them, as well as your own home?
Brooke's usually right.
Happy
Brooke,
wife.
Yeah. We sort of divvy it up with macro stuff. The big moves I'll handle more of, and the little moves Brooke will handle more of, except for when we're flipping the furniture around, when she'll just look at me and go, "You're insane." I'm going.
You'll trust me with gardens and things.
Oh yeah,
like our garden. I had the whole idea.
Yeah, the whole garden outside of the tub area that you saw with the long grasses, that was all her idea. I had a whole different vision. But she's got really good ideas, so I just kind of let her run with it.
And so does he. And I think there's a level, again, that level of trust. We've been doing this long enough. I mean, we've been married now for 34 years. So there is definitely a level of trust at this point, and I don't know where I end and he begins, and vice versa.
Okay, you answered that question.
At this point.
A question had just come in. Do you feel like you complete each other in your work? So that's been answered.
You complete me.
A quick specific question here. Steve, the driveway is gravel over asphalt. Is that similar to a tar seal / chip seal application or solid?
Yeah, it's like a chip seal. There's a little more gravel than in a normal chip seal where you don't see the tar, but it allows you to, it doesn't get washed away or anything. And the thing that's cool about that, so I've got my driveway there, but the walkways that go up to the house, that's just gravel over dirt. So you can have one material that you can drive on or walk on and it all looks the same. So it's more limited palette. It's a good way to do a limited palette and just hold everything together.
And I know somebody's going to ask this or is wondering, it's Handley gold gravel 3/8 inch?
Yeah, like
3/8 inch.
It's got that kind of nice warm golden color and matches the stone that we used on the floor.
Because most gravel tends to be a little cooler, a little grayer.
Grayer, yeah.
Quick question. Somebody would like to know who the manufacturer of the sofa you were sitting on is.
That's ours. That's ours.
That's our Aleek sofa, Unity Home. I'm
So
not,
that's one of those that we had all this antique furniture, and whenever we bought a regular piece of furniture from a store, it just looked like it was made in a different scale. I know you imagine a lot of stuff has got those big round arms and all that stuff. So I just had to design a whole bunch of stuff that worked with all the antiques. So we still have those on the store occasionally.
Another quick one. In the guest house, you have smooth white walls in the shower, no tile. How was that achieved?
we actually don't have any tile in any of our bathrooms. It's outdoor stucco.
Yeah, we just stuck up the walls
Yeah,
and
and sealed it.
and sealed it with like a spray-on sealer. It just works great. And it's not good if you've got like that blue shampoo.
Yes,
like
no head and shoulders, no head and shoulders.
because it's stuck, it stains the wall. It's got to be a little careful with that.
Yes.
But it works great because I don't know, I designed tile bathrooms like forever, and it's a pet peeve. It just makes me crazy. So we just decided no tile, just stucco on the walls of the showers. And it just makes it feel like one big room.
Yeah.
It just, a lot of that stuff, you just don't need all that stuff. It's just, you can do things with less and it's better.
We really like a limited palette.
So here's a good question, and we only have a minute left. I don't know if we're going to get cut off, but there are two nice things. One is somebody says here, would you ever do a master class on design? We would love that. And yeah, well, that's our next project, guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is, do you ever feel blocked when developing a project, and how do you end up getting your energy or inspiration back to make these beautiful projects?
Take a walk around the neighborhood or take a walk around the yard, and you'll just dream up something. It's sometimes hard to just sit and look at, they have to come to you. I don't usually get blocked. The designs come pretty easy.
I think it's between, once you, if you look around at the location where it's going to be built and talk to the clients about their, what they're interested in, as well as, usually they have some inspiration.
Yeah, but you have a couple of inspiration things. You just start to build a little bit of a story. And sometimes building that story will help you design the house. Like it could have been an old French farmhouse that got remodeled and redone with sold steel windows that they brought in from somewhere else. So there's a story in these things that helps you figure out a house.
Yes, informs the design.
Yeah.
There are three questions in about flooring. What are your floors in the home made of? At your guest house flooring, is it scaffolding timbers, and where do you find that? And the shower floor material. 3 floor questions.
So all of our wood floors are just bleached white oak, and all of the stone flooring, including in the bathrooms and in our entry and outside, we use the same stone as a French limestone. So again, like we had said, we like the kind of flow of indoor outdoor. We often do that with palette. The stone floors inside and outside, and it is also the same color as the gravel that is outside.
Yeah, one kind of floor.
One kind of flooring. The scaffolding we didn't use for flooring. We did use scaffolding planks for some of the shelving in Steve's office and in the guest house, as well as in Nick's room. We kind of we asked our plasterer or our stucco guy for his old scaffolding planks, and we bought him new ones. He was thrilled. We were thrilled. It had all that old patina on it, and he was happy to get new ones.
Yeah, it's great looking stuff.
So guys, we're going over, so we have to stop, but we want to remind everybody that the new book, Patina Homes, is out, and Acapella has signed copies, and you can go in. The link is on the screen here, and several people have written in thanking you so much for all this incredible information. They loved it. They thought you were so generous with your information. And of course, there's lots of other questions about where you find your pillows and everything else. But anyway, don't forget
yeah, go on to Brooke's Instagram.
Yes.
Or if you want architecture questions, you can go on and ask them to me on my Instagram.
Yes.
And following Velvet and Linen, see a video every day.
Yeah, there you go. Just sign up.
And I'll try and answer as many questions in videos as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Ada.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
for joining
everybody.
us.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.